Hello! Today we are trekking through history and trekking through history.
Yep.
So before we go on that journey, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can journey along with us.
Right.
As we
And
trek
in
through
the future, you'll know when we do more videos.
Yes! But this is history, not future.
Let's see what I did there.
Yeah. We were talking about history though.
Let's talk.
But it's time travel.
It's time.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we never traveled through future.
No.
Okay. Well, in the future, you're going to see a lot more board games coming around. So we got a lot to go through, especially our Gen Con hall. We still have a lot of Gen Con hall.
And he keeps buying more even after that. So
this one actually was not from the Gen Con hall. This one is a Kickstarter that just released.
Yeah. So thank you, Underdog, for sending this to us.
So we're doing the review. Want to get it up as soon as possible so that it's up for when it goes to retail.
Right.
So tell us about this Kickstarter.
All right, so it's not available for retail yet, but Kickstarter backers should be getting their copies. If they haven't yet, it should be soon. So it's a 2022 release. It's already got some ratings on Board Game Geek. The rating overall is 8.1, and the rank is 9,888, but I'm sure it's going to go get quite a bit better once people start playing it. Designed by Charlie Bink, art by Eric Kibler. Let me just shout out real quick. We'll go into it, but the art's fantastic. Published by Underdog Games. Now, the Kickstarter price was $50. I've already seen some prices on eBay and Geek Market. So I guess for those copies of those backers that are already selling at $120, $129 or more on eBay, $95 on Geek Market.
Wow. All right. So let's talk about what you get for that price. So first of all, you get a really nice play mat.
Neoprene mat.
It doesn't have stitching on the edges, but it's a nice neoprene mat. You get a central timekeeping cardboard. Now, this does not have a linen finish. It's a smooth finish on it. But all of the cards, including these large player sheets, itinerary mats, are all linen finished.
And even your reference card for your days is linen finished.
Yeah. So, I mean, the cardboard is not, but everything else is. And they're tarot-sized cards. They're oversized. And you have the 3 different eras that you go through, or days in this case, which have time spans that range widely in each day.
You got molded pieces that you keep track on your itinerary board.
Yeah, all different shapes and colors.
Different colors. So even for color blindness, you got the emblem on the piece. So even if you can't see the color, you can still distinguish where it needs to go on the map. So,
and it has game tray storage in both the box and then an exterior piece for storing your components while you're playing the game. So, and these timepieces are really cool. They look like pocket watches, and they stack.
And for those of you who are old enough to know the reference, they got Wayback written on it.
Yeah. So the Wayback Machine.
The Wayback Machine.
Oh yes. So quality of components, I'm pretty impressed with this. I'm probably going to give it an 8.5.
I'm a little bit more because I'm looking at the price, which is $50 for the Kickstarter, and you're getting all this stuff. I think I'm a 9.
That's true. Price point does. Maybe I am a 9 because the price is good for this. Because I mean, you don't typically see a neoprene mat at that price.
No. So I'm a 9 with this. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm also at a 9. The only thing that was maybe slightly underwhelming is the little player tokens are just wooden.
Yeah, I mean, they do stand out considering everything else is custom and
it's all
nice, and and you have just wooden. But all in all, it's pretty incredible what you get for that price.
It really is.
So we'll all agree on 9.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about themes. So this is all about traveling through time. And ideally, you're wanting your path to take you through a sequential time.
Yeah, you want to try and do ascending order.
Yes, but it's very difficult to do that. So, you get bonus points.
Depending on how your cards are shuffled.
Yes. Yes, unless you're Rob, it's very difficult to travel through time properly. But the nice thing is that there's alternate ways to score. You get points for having a sequence in order of your time, but you also get points for filling your itinerary board. So I specialized in that. You specialized in the sequence.
The sequence.
And I tried to divide it in between the two.
But our scores, you and I tied, and you broke the tiebreaker.
And Melissa was only 4 points behind us. Yeah. So it was very balanced.
Yeah. But thematically, I love the art. It's amazing.
Yes.
The items in history are interesting that they chose.
So not only the art, but every single card has got detailed historical reference to that year. So, and then it's got a little title on the top, but then it goes into description behind it. A lot of work, and I think love went into this game.
Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with this. This is the first of the trekking series that I played, but now I'm very interested in checking out the others because I love the time periods, the stories that they put on here. The only complaint I have about it is the ancestor cards. That just have the same comments on them. There's no.
But that kind of makes sense, because how are they going to know who your ancestor is?
Well, yeah, but they have.
So that would be fictitious, whereas everything else is historically accurate.
Well, yeah, but the comment, the roots of our past can help us in the present and have the great impact on our future. They could have varied that from card to card.
I guess. Inspirational quotes, I guess, if it makes you feel better. But
yeah, I mean, this...
That warmed my heart.
They could have just visited a Hallmark store and got other ones. But, I mean, that's the only complaint. Yeah. That's a very minor complaint.
I didn't mind it.
No, these are, I mean, they're just the standard if you were trying to fill in a gap cards. But all in all, this is pretty incredible.
Thematically, it is excellent. I mean, you can't really ask for a whole lot more.
Yeah, so what are you thinking?
I'm a 9.5.
9.5, okay. What do you think?
I'm a 9.5 as well, because, like I said, the only thing that I felt was a little lacking was the wood piece, but otherwise, thematically, everything fits, so...
Yeah, I'll give you a 9.5 too. I was on a 9, but I'll go a 9.5 because I do.
It's just so much work and love went into all of this that I have to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, and the player mat or the play mat is really well designed too.
It's not too big. Everything fits and works very well.
Yeah. So moving on to the rule book. So the rule book, first of all, they give you a little QR code that. Correct? Yes. All right. It's not a scanny thing anymore.
It's not a scanny thing.
It's a QR code. But it's got one in the box to teach you how to play the game. And also, presumably, this is where you would get your solo game because it's not in the rule book, but it does say it on the site.
It's one of the Kickstarter exclusives is the solo mode.
So presumably, that's where you would go to get the solo mode information. But the rule book doesn't really have a cover per se. I mean, it's got a slight cover, but it goes into the kind of the... Yeah, very, very slight theme to get you into the game. Got a nice setup page. It's really just art, basically, just some blurbs telling you where everything goes, but it's super easy to set up anyway. Mm-hmm. It goes through and explains the game, and all this is only 8 pages long. And
that's loose because the pictures are big.
Yeah, lots of big pictures, and it's a very easy game to learn to play. It's not a lot to the game as far as the gameplay actions, but it's actually surprisingly, the depth of it was more than I expected.
I honestly, just the way it's laid out, as you can see, you got your different rows, columns of cards. I honestly thought it was going to be similar to Century Spice Road, but it's nothing like it, and it's better in my opinion. Yeah,
it's got more meat to it than I expected it to have. So. Yeah, I'm probably going to give the rule book an 8.5. I think it does a good job. It's the right length. It does have there's an expansion that it mentions in here, but it doesn't really tell you what to do because there is actually a little rule book.
Yeah, it's called Time Warp, and they don't want you to play with it initially. So.
Yeah, but basically all it is events.
Yeah.
It's what it adds to the game. So it's not a huge expansion. But in most games they don't want you to start with the events, so it makes sense. So all in all, I think this is a fine rule book. It does a good job.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the gameplay.
Did you give it a score though?
It's 8.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
All right. So moving on to gameplay. So you're going to have there's 3 days this is played over, and all those days have a deck of cards specially made for that has a time period range on it. And there's actually a cheat sheet, which is super helpful, that shows like the ranges
starts and ends for each day.
And it has each of the years, so you know if you're grabbing a card where it falls in the sequence. It would have been nice if there was more of those, because otherwise you're sharing that card. It would be nice if there was one for each.
Maybe, but I never wanted or needed to look at it.
Yeah, it wasn't hugely.
So I don't know.
But, it was nice. There's a few times I looked and I was like, oh, crud, there's only 5 cards after this one, and so on.
That's a good point.
But, so you're going to take the day 1 cards, you're going to shuffle that deck, and you're going to stack it at the end face up and place 5 of them in sequence out so that you have 6 options to select from.
Right.
And then basically, based upon the clock, which everybody starts at noon, well, 12. This is the one thing that bothered me in the game. It's a 12-hour day for some reason. I guess you sleep for 12 hours and then you travel
Well,
for
you
12
got to
hours.
eat and, all that stuff. So
Yes.
you got breaks.
Well, yeah, but it's not. There's no breaks in the game. It's just you
No.
wait until 12 hours. You fast for 12 hours.
OSHA stipulates that you have to have a safe working environment. So
yeah, but that safe working environment doesn't involve any breaks. Apparently, that would violate your OSHA theory. So you travel straight for 12 hours and then you rest for 12 hours. But you're going to start there. Each of the cards has a time period on it that it's going to take. So if I took this card, for example, it takes 5 hours for me to complete this journey. And I would move 5 on the clock, and this would go in front of me. And now I would be starting my clock at 1785. And I would get icons based on what's pictured on here. In this case, it's a blue,
like
wild, which... Yeah, blue's like a scroll. There's a wild, and then there's crystals, and then the space that's on also gives you an icon. In this case, it's also crystals. Now, if you take the top of the deck one, you don't get the bonus because there's no bonus under that one.
just what's on the card.
Yeah. So this is going to start your journey. So you want to go as early back as you possibly can in most cases if you're more concerned about getting a sequence.
Because it's kind of like set collection, and the more you get in the ascending order, the more points you get at the end of the game.
Right. But you also have the option on your itinerary of placing these icon tokens you get on this board. And as you fill it, you've got to fill it from top down. But you will get bonus points either by covering them or by finishing a row and getting the ones on the side.
Right.
And at the beginning of the game, you're going to get dealt 4 of these, and you get to choose which one of these you're going to play with. Now, the first time you play, it says to randomly select one, but it took us 1 round to figure out what you're doing, and then we were like, okay, we'll just pick them from now on. But you're going to try to choose one that's most beneficial for you as far as gathering these tokens based upon, kind of what you're seeing as far as the board and what you're expecting is going to come up. And, you're trying to maximize your point potential by filling in these dots. And I found this to be very interesting. This is my favorite part of the game. I love this.
I enjoyed it a lot too. I mean, that's not how I scored the majority of my points, but it is a really interesting mechanic to this game.
Right.
I really like it.
Now, if you go like me and you go time hopping, you're going to end up potentially losing some points. I lost a few points because if you only get 1 card in sequence, so if I took 1785 and the later chose this 1581, I have to reset my clock so that I turn that stack over and I start again. So if I have a stack of 1, it's worth negative victory points, negative 3. So you want to try to get as many in your sequence as you can because you're going to score points in that. Ideally, if you can make your whole journey through the end, you're going to get a ton of points. You can get, if you get 10, which I have no idea how you're going to get 10. You got 7, which is impressive. 7. But getting 10 gives you 30 points if you can pull it off, if you can get 10 in a sequence. Given the fact that the time on here is, 5, ranges up to 5. You're not going to get that many times on the clock. Now, what you can do to alleviate that, though, are these time crystals you can use to pay these to reduce the amount of time that your action took. So,
you can't go below 1.
Right,
it has to be.
It has to be 1. So the max you can really get is 12 cards.
Yeah.
It's got 11 plus. I really don't see it going over 12. I don't know how.
You'd have to be so lucky to be able to do that.
To get 12, but I don't think you could even get more than 12.
I don't see how.
Yeah. So, you're basically, if you can get 10, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
You got 7. I was impressed with that. And that gives you 15 points. So, it's half of what you get for 10. But you're trying to get as much of these as you can. And the clock, it works very similar if you play patchwork.
Right.
Where whoever's furthest back takes the next turn. So you can strategically choose when you're going to play your crystals so that you potentially maximize taking turns when you want them. Because the other thing you have to consider is if you take your turn and you're next, and the board is not what you need, you might have, might screw yourself and have to choose one.
And that's how I was able to get to 7, is because I was able to use my crystals to be able to get 2 very close years together and be able to do that.
And
order
mess Randy up in the process.
Yeah, you messed me up a few times.
Which is a win-win, really.
Yeah. So I liked every aspect of this game. I mean, it's not a heavy game. This is a very light game. This is probably an entry level game, honestly.
Honestly, but there's a bit more meat than I anticipated, like Randy said, and it was fun interacting. There's a little bit of player interaction, like how I kind of screwed Randy over a little bit. I didn't do it intentionally. I needed those cards too, so I picked what I needed, but it slowed him down, and he wasn't able to score as much, and I was able to come out with a win because of it. So there's a little bit of tension there, and I think multiple playthroughs could be even more, because then you're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
You'd be able to kind of hate draft against people, and I think that could be fun.
I think this is one that Miranda's going to like it.
I think so too.
And I think her family is going to like
this
so because it's another one that's light,
it's easy to pick up,
easy to teach, but yet there's some strategy to it. Now, I'm afraid that it's probably going to get, for me, a little stale, because I know Miranda's family always wants to play the same game over and over and over again.
Right.
Well, that's where you can introduce the other.
Yeah, if you space it out, I think this game would have a long shelf life.
Yeah.
But if you play it a whole bunch like Miranda's family does, which I understand why, but I could see it getting a little stale. But again, like to Melissa's point, maybe trekking through the world and trekking through the parks could add enough variety to kind of make it live even a little bit longer.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, any game you play, if you play it a whole lot,
absolutely, this game would not be unique in that regard.
So, all in all, as far as an entry level game goes,
and it's quick. I mean, it says 30 to 60 minutes. I think that was right at it.
Yeah,
it might even been a little bit less than the 60.
Yeah, I'm probably about an 8 on it. I think, as far as my score, I think as far as an entry level game, I mean. If I'm weighing it based upon comparing it to other entry level games, and I think this is a solid game. This is very good.
If I'm comparing it to other entry games, so like Splendor or Sagrada, I think I'd play this before Sagrada or Splendor, and so that's why I'm going to go a little bit higher. I think I'm going to go a 9. I enjoyed it a lot. There's more moving parts than there is to Sagrada and to the other games that we would call this. So I like them more. So I'm going to give it a higher score.
Well, having nothing else really to compare it to and being a lover of history, I also give it a 9.
Okay. So stellar marks all across the board on this. I mean, it's fun, it's quick, it's easy.
And for the price point, you can't beat it.
And I mean, the components quality typically with an entry level game, you don't see this kind of quality of components. So another kudo for this game.
Absolutely.
So I am impressed. I'm glad we got to try it out, and hopefully you'll get a chance to try it out.
Thanks again to Underdog for giving us the opportunity to play this game.
So check this one out. If it's not something that you've got easy access to today, it will be coming soon to retail. And certainly it's out there. I wouldn't pay $120. Whatever. I wouldn't go looking at scalpers for it. But when it comes out, check it out. I don't know if there's
highly recommend it.
Any differences between the retail and this version.
Yeah, we don't have any information on that. All it showed on the Kickstarter page is what you got for the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So,
but everything is top-notch quality. So, yeah. Well, that's our opinion of Trekking Through History, and now this review is history. So, again, history, not future. All right. So, but in the future, follow along. Hit the subscribe button and join us for our future endeavors. So, talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.